Call me to order. Please stand. Oops, sorry. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start the meeting with the regular session. Sorry, the regular session meeting minutes.
And if you could, for Jessica's benefit,
Sure.
Name who
Yep.
initially made it,
Motion and seconds. Yep.
out loud. That way she can, because from her position, it's hard for her to see.
Absolutely. So need a motion for the. Thanks, Jeff and Jackie. Is there any discussion? Anybody find anything needed changed? All right, all in favor? 9-0. The work session from last Wednesday, need a motion? David, Jerry, thank you. Any discussion on that one? Nope. All in favor? All right. You got it all, Jessica? Jeff and Jackie. Next item on the agenda is we had an executive work session on the 13th, and the executive session, cover my microphone, I can't do that. On May 6th, Director Mike Abb resigned from the Board of Directors due to potential conflict of interest with his employment with the Runaway Group and their close affiliation with Blue Crane, the company which recently purchased the developer rights from Cooper Community. The Board of Directors held interviews for all candidates who applied for the open position, and the Board of Directors unanimously selected Kathleen Coughlin, welcome to the team, at the executive session on the 13th. And with that, joint advisory reports. Recreation did not meet. Golf did not meet. You assuming you have
Lakes did meet. The committee nominated Jeff Rattay to become the next member of their team, replacing Kelly Austin, who has served, I think Kelly's served for about 6 years. So thank you very much, Kelly, for your lengthy service. The Lakes Committee also unanimously approved the drawdown of Lake Norwood for this coming winter. And due to heavy rains and runoff, only Lake Norwood has been fertilized. All others will be done as runoff subsides. Very short report, and that was it.
Thank you, Beth. Surprise, Beth.
Fast. That came up quick. All right, we're going to take a look at the financial overview for May. And as always, the reports in this presentation, as well as more detailed reports, can be found on the website. Looking at the consolidated for only the month of May, the revenue was $3,404,000, which, as you can see, was just $2,000 less than budgeted and more than prior year. Expenses were $2,967,000, which was better than budget by $10,000, more than prior year as expected. EBITDA was a negative $40,000 for the month of May, which was $2,000 better than budgeted. Looking at the consolidated again, year to date, revenue was almost $16 million year to date, which is $700,000 better than budget and about $1 million, little over $1 million better than prior year. Expenses are $12,058,000, which is $700,000 better than budgeted at this time. And EBITDA is $1,879,000, which is $1.5 million better than budgeted. It's also nearly the same as the prior year on the EBITDA. Looking at POA only year to date, the revenue was $11,333,000, which is $500,000 better than budget. It's also better than prior year. Cost of goods sold, $858,000, which is a little more than budgeted, about the same as prior year. Expenses, $10 million, which is $680,000 less than what has been budgeted, so beating budget. And EBITDA is $470,000 positive on the POA side, which is $1.1 million better than budgeted at this time. Looking at golf only, golf, the total revenue for May, it took a hit from the weather. $607,000 in May, $100,000 less than what was budgeted, $67,000 less than the prior year. Golf fees were $95,000 of that $100,000 worse than budget. Pro shop sales made up the other $6,000. Obviously, if you have less golfers going through golfing, your shop sales are going to suffer as well. However, year-to-date, golf fees are only $5,000 worse than budget, and they are still $93,000 better than prior year. Golf shop sales are better than budget year-to-date. They are $66,000 worse than prior year, and that's because Tanner Creek's been closed. Looking at food and beverage, for the month of May, revenue was $389,000, which was $18,000 worse than budget. It's still $25,000 better than prior year. Banquet sales were a bright spot in May, $7,000 better than budget. Year-to-date, restaurant revenue is $47,000 worse than budget, but we're still beating prior year by $74,000. So overall, the POA's revenue for the month of May only was $2.5 million, $10,000 less than what was budgeted, $15,000 better than prior year. Membership transfer fees had a big May with $45,000 better than budget. Investment income, assessments, facility use all had a good May. Worse than budget in May was the resale of lots, $20,000 worse than budget, but they still are ahead of budget year to date. Looking at expenses for the month of May, May's POA expenses were $44,000 better than budgeted overall and $680,000 better year to date. A lot of that is due to timing. An example is building maintenance and repairs, golf maintenance equipment and lease. Those were all quite a bit better than budget in May. Also year to date, those are largely due to timing. Salaries, wages, and benefits were $24,000 better in May despite having $17,000 more costs in overtime, hourly expense than budgeted, and it's still $104,000 better year to date as well. Interest expense is better in May, chemicals, utilities, all better. Worse than budget in May, equipment and tools, equipment maintenance and repairs, those are good examples. You'll see they're worse in May, but they're still better year to date. That's an example of how that timing could flip. Human resource expenses is $13,000 worse in May. So switching now to water, year to date, water's had a good year so far. The revenue is $4,624,000, $231,000 better than budget, almost $400,000 better than prior year. Cost of goods sold, cost of water is better than budget and better than prior year. Expenses are better than budget and as expected more than the prior year. So EBITDA is a positive $1,409,000, which is $282,000 better than budget and $182,000 better than the prior year. Looking at the revenue in May, you can see for May, the revenue $899,000 was pretty much right at budget and just over prior year. We did receive $32,000 on an insurance claim on the stolen truck. Water sales were $14,000 better in May. Worse in May was new service connections, capital buy-in fees. Both of those are still better year to date, however. Looking at water expenses, the operating expenses for water were $35,000 worse than budget for May. They're still $25,000 better than budget year to date. Supplies were better. Worse was service contracts, water distribution equipment, credit card charges, and interest were worse than budget. Moving on to cash. At the end of May, we had nearly $7 million in cash. Water unreserved was $2,261,000. Water reserved is $1,026,000. POA unreserved is $2,626,000, and reserved for the POA is $1,055,000. As planned and budgeted to support our major capital projects, we did end up taking an additional loan from water to the POA of $900,000. That brings that intercompany loan to $3.4 million. We also took our first draw in May on the new bank loan of $1.25 million. You saw earlier that we're ahead of budget on interest expense. That's because we were able to take that first draw a lot later than what we had budgeted and thought we'd have to. The balance of all the bank loans as of this time is $3.6 million. And looking at the one-pager, I've went over everything on the right. On the left is the variances of EBITDA year-to-date to budget by department. General income, you'll see, is $553,000 ahead of budget, and that is largely assessments, membership transfer fees. I'm forgetting what the other big one is. Golf maintenance is ahead of budget, $304,000, and that's, I think, largely due to timing. Water is ahead, and that can be pretty much aligned with the increase in revenue that they're ahead on. And going down to the bottom, central administration is $95,000 worse than budget. Half of that can be pinpointed to a budgeting mistiming, where we budgeted the board election expense to hit in August, and it's already hit. So that can account for half of that. Food and beverage is $71,000 worse than budget, and that is all due to labor and the cost of food. Any questions?
A little bit off this topic, but do we have an update on the ERC?
No, we have not. So that is kind of sitting in limbo right now. The IRS has stalled on processing any, and they have been stalled for several months on processing any. I did just read an article last weekend, as a matter of fact, that they're maybe starting back up processing those again. But if they are, it's going to be a very, very slow process. Yeah.
Beth, you made a comment about water as expected expenses are worse than budget. Is that because of the fix we did at Allen's, or what? Why was that expected?
I may have misspoke. As expected, worse than prior year. I think, if I can go back, I think they were
like
better.
218 or something like that.
Let me go back.
Here,
Year to date?
219 worse than prior year.
In prior year, yeah, we budgeted more expenses than we
Okay.
did the prior
Okay.
year,
I
but we are still
misunderstood.
ahead of budget.
Got it.
Yeah. Anything else? All right.
My water bill's gonna be more because I had water in my yard. Imagine this month's gonna be good for the water department. Thanks, Beth. On to the next is our open forum. Nobody here to sign up, but we do have an email. Jessica?
Board, I see your June 27th agenda includes a discussion about food and beverage and other amenities. I hope this is in response to member calls for a JAC committee for food and beverage. As mentioned, 8 years of losses is enough. We know restaurants can be successful and profitable in Bella Vista. JJ's, Gasano's, the old Papa Mike's, El Pueblitos, the old duffers, and the new tables. They do this even while paying rents, all benefits, utilities, insurances, credit card fees, and other expenses. In the restaurant industry, there is a ratio called prime cost. It is a cost of goods plus salaries, wages, benefits divided by revenues. The industry goal is 65%. We are about 95%. On the average, the past 3 years, for every $1 sold, it cost us $1.06. A negative 6% profit margin is unsustainable. We need new solutions, new ideas, and plans. I understand that in Hot Springs Village, they vendor out all of their restaurants. Probably what we want to avoid that. Although from our declaration, we know restaurants were not originally defined as an amenity like water, golf, lakes, parks, and recreation centers. As reported, most of our monthly losses always occur in November and December and in January through March, 5 months of the year. Presumably, all or most of these 5 big loss months trace to Lake Point. Thus, we should consider making Lake Point a seasonal restaurant. If we reduce expenses, then the food and beverage division might turn a profit for the year. For new members, that was the original goal when it started in 2016. I believe the promise was that restaurants will be profitable in 3 to 4 years. It was certainly never a goal to be continued drained on resources. To make sure this is a viable suggestion that would lead to the POA sustainability, I hereby request to see a monthly breakdown for each restaurant's financials for 2022, 2023, and year-to-date 2024. Let's work together for our POA sustainability without increasing debt and raising prices. Thank you, Steve McKee, POA member since 2013.
Thank you. Response?
The board asked me to put together a presentation on F&B, subsidies and so forth, and usage, and I have that coming up. So I think I'm just going to hold off and address them through the presentation.
Okay, good. Do you have something to say, David?
Yeah, I have to disagree with the premise of the email. I've never been a fan of fuzzy math, and I don't know where the writer comes up with these numbers, but I disagree with them. It seems to me that what's being suggested is that JAC as a managing committee, and our JACs are not managing committees. That's not the job of the JACs. It's not the job of the board. We hire people to do that for us, and they answer to us. I don't think, that any of us are going to believe that a complex problem that we have of balancing amenities and revenue can be solved by just a simple solution or a simple solution that's proposed, whatever. I've been here for a lot of years. I've seen a lot of different ways that the POA has approached food and beverage, and we are so much better now than we ever were in the past, and the facilities are being utilized by our membership. So I would encourage people who think it's not good to go out and try the facilities and patronize them. You might find that they're doing a pretty good job. So I think we're doing a good job, but we always have to keep in mind that we balance expense and benefit to the membership and try to keep those things so that Bella Vista is a good place to be.
Thank you. One other additional note to that is, and I can't remember exactly how it was stated, but there was actually only 2 communications to the board for a JAC, and one of them was Mr. McKee. So I don't think it was a big rush like I think was presented in that email. So
Yeah, we didn't receive any additional communications.
right. Okay. So, onward. Does anybody else have anything on that topic? Nope. All right, Tom, the floor is yours.
All right. So in high school, what was the first two, when you went to class, what were the worst 2 words you could hear when you went to class? Pop quiz. So we're going to have a little fun, but we're going to present some serious information, but do it in a lighthearted manner. And hopefully this will educate not only the board, but the community. So pardon my stupid sense of humor. Some of you guys are getting used to it. I don't think David's ever gotten used to the stupid sense of humor. But what is our mission? It is to enhance the lives of our members. And you can do that in a variety of different ways, but what is the primary way that we do this to enhance the lives of our members? And we provide our membership with a wide variety of quality amenities at a reasonable price. That's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide a lot of great things that they can do, but not kill them with costs and so forth. I think when you think of Bella Vista, one of the things that you're going to talk about is value. We have a great value to what we provide. All right, so what is our goal? And this is going to be multiple choice, and I want you to pick the one that you think best matches. So we're going to spend funds recklessly and have the membership subsidize everything through high assessments and high amenity usage fees? Well, let's hope not. Make as much money as possible. We're a for-profit organization. We're going to charge high assessments and high fees. And Sandy, if you want to move to the other side, you look like you're suffering with the sun is heading straight into your face. Or hopefully you'll choose C, which is use good business practices to provide good quality amenities while limiting assessments as much as possible and balancing, I'm going to pick on David's words, balancing subsidizing amenities with fees and assessments charged. It's always a delicate balancing act of how much we put into something and how much we charge, so forth. So hopefully you selected C on your pop quiz. Now, so here's the subsidy spectrum. So I looked this up, and 70% of all employed people work for a for-profit company. So in many cases, people bring a for-profit mindset to the table when they look at our financials, and that's not 100% correct. So let's look at the spectrum. On the one side, we have municipalities, and many municipalities use taxes to subsidize community pools. There's a community pool in Bentonville, municipal golf courses, parks, trails, and so forth. So they take those taxes and subsidize those amenities. They might charge a token amount, but no way is it enough. On the other end of the spectrum is for-profit businesses, and they hate subsidizing anything. They don't subsidize. They're there to make money. They're for-profit. And the POA is right in the middle. We're hopefully the best of both worlds. We want to use good, sound business practices to provide quality amenities while limiting assessments and fees. And once again, balancing. So we try and balance. We're right in the middle. All right. So let's say we're a for-profit corporation. How many golf courses are we going to have if we're for-profit? 7, the perfect number. More golf courses you have, the more options and variety the members have. Well, if you're for-profit, how about 5 golf courses if you're for-profit? 18 holes? Only the 18-hole golf courses? In reality, if you were a for-profit corporation, we'd probably have 2 or 3. Don't know what golf courses we would close, and man, are we going to get sued by closing the golf courses, because we will get sued. And we'd probably have to increase fees and look at our operating expenses. So, but since we are a POA, how many golf courses should we have? Hopefully you selected 7. A little bit of extremes, but it's true. If we were for-profit, we would not have as many golf courses as we have. If we were for-profit, how many fitness centers would we have? Well, we probably wouldn't have 3. Maybe 1, probably 0. Because remember, I mean, there's fitness centers in Bentonville. I mean, Planet Fitness, they charge $10 a month, $120 a year. We charge $30 for our activity card. Really hard to do that. So it's really hard to justify the expense. But we're a POA, thankfully. And so we have 3 fitness centers, which are regionally placed on all, you know, the east, the west, and the middle. That way we can accommodate our membership. If we were for-profit, now I included a lakes picture. It's not our lake picture. This is clip art from there. Would we have 7 lakes? I don't think so. How about 3 lakes? I'm not quite certain what lakes where we close, how we do it, and we'd get sued, but we're having a little bit of fun here. We probably have no lakes. Well, lakes don't cost a lot of money to run. They're easy. They're just fish in the water. Nope. We have lake rangers. We have to stock the lakes. The fish don't appear here naturally. So since we're a POA, fortunately, we have 7 lakes. That's not our chef either. Anybody know who that is? Yes. How many restaurants would we have if we were for-profit? Well, we'd have 3, 4. Well, if we're for-profit, probably not. Maybe 1 restaurant. We'd pack all the membership together. We'd raise the prices. We'd cut the staff, and we'd decrease the food quality. That would be profitable. Or we'd have no restaurant at all because it's a headache, and let's eliminate the benefit. But we're a POA, and we're here to serve our membership. Service, we're trying to enhance our members' lives. So let's look at the governing documents. What do they say about subsidies? They don't use the word specifically subsidize, but they get pretty darn close. So Cooper, the original developer, desires to create a residential and commercial community with a water system, lakes, golf courses, playgrounds, permanent parks. I don't know what a permanent park is. I don't know why they use that word. And common facilities for the benefit of the community. The declaration is about 30 pages long. This is the second paragraph. So when people talk about, well, I don't use the amenities, well, we're an amenities-based community, and this is the second paragraph. So from the very beginning in 1965, it is contemplated that we are an amenities-based community. Now later on in Section 10, it talks about the purpose of assessments. The assessments levied herein by the POA shall be used exclusively for the purpose of promoting recreation, health, safety, and welfare for the residents and to the enjoyment of the common properties. You put all those together, you don't ever see the word subsidy in either of these two, but it's the word subsidy. Assessments and fees are intended to be used to subsidize the amenities for the benefit of our membership. That's what it's saying. This information is available on our website. You're going to see me notate that multiple times today. All the information, by and large, I'm using today is on our website. So I didn't just create a special report that nobody could get the information for. It's all available. All right. What do you think was the most used amenity in 2023? What do you think? Golf? Golf? Who else? Golf? Trail usage. 309,000, and we only have trip counters or trail counters on about half of the trails, so that number is artificially low. It's probably in reality about 500,000. That's my guess. We can debate all day long because we can't prove it one way or the other. All right, what do you think is number 2? Huh? Golf? And you were right this time. 203, that's pretty impressive. It keeps on going up and up and up. 5 years ago it was 134,000. Now it's 203, and we're still improving upon that number. All right, next one. Rec? Lakes? Restaurants. 192,000. These are covers. So if I go to the restaurant and I buy a hamburger, a beer, and I get a dessert, that is one cover. Okay? I bring my wife, it's 2 covers. Okay? Next year, with BV65 opening up, it's probably going to move into the number 2 slot. Okay, so a lot of people use our food and beverage facilities. Next one is fitness. Joan wasn't really happy because I carved out pool usage, and that's coming. She was like, oh, the number would be so much higher if you combined. No. But because I'm doing the top 10, so I had to carve it out. So she wasn't happy with me on that.
Fitness also doesn't include pickleball.
Keep that in mind. Hold on. That's coming up. I haven't forgotten. Then driving range. Well, you could say it's golf, but it is $77,000. And that includes even the closure of the range towards the end of the year. And up here in fitness usage, this includes the closure of Reardon for most of the year. So that number would probably be higher. Next one is beaches. So like I said, Joan was like, add that to the other one, then we're in second place. So beaches and pool, we treat those as one and the same. In most cases, we use the same employees go to both locations. Next one is the activity card. It's really not an activity, but it's a card, but I wanted to emphasize the importance of that. RV park, campgrounds, tiny cabins, 17, almost 18,000. Gun range, almost 11,000. And tennis, 9,000. In total, that's over 1 million uses. Almost 1.1 million individual uses in our community. That is extremely impressive. Notice that none of these activities are in the majority. I mean, trails was the highest at 300,000, and that's 30%, a little bit less than 30%. Nothing is in the majority. But combined, it emphasizes that we are a very active community, which is awesome. Things we don't or can't track, lake use, it's impossible. Pickleballs, you mentioned that. Parks, beach volleyball, putt-putt. Yeah, I mean, we could have someone there with a notepad. No, what a waste of time to try and figure out exactly how many people use the beach volleyball. Once again, all this information is on our website. The trail information is on the city's website. So it's all public domain, all publicly available. But pretty impressive, 1,065,000, and that's only the things that we track. You add in all the other stuff we don't track, I don't know, 1.3 million maybe, something like that. All right, subsidies. What do you think we subsidize the most? What amenity we subsidize the most? Golf? 1.9 million. What do you think we subsidize the next most? Huh? Rec. Joan was like, what, you count it separately, but when you're doing the numbers, you're combining it. That's not fair. So, you know. But $660,000 for fitness, pools, beach, tennis, trails, and all the other things that she takes care of. So pretty high numbers. What do you think's next? Lakes. Very good. Lakes. $534,000. We have the lake rangers. We have to purchase fish. We have to stock the lakes. We have to fertilize the lakes. We have all that testing that we do to make sure our lakes are healthy. It costs money. It's not just water. What do you think's next? Food and beverage. $229,000. Boy, that number's quite a bit lower than all the other ones. Quite a bit lower. Subsidized amenities not originally contemplated in the declaration. This declaration was written in 65. They didn't think about having a beach. Pickleball, I don't even know if it was invented in 65. Gun range, I was surprised the gun range was not covered in the declaration. At least I didn't see it. Dog park, beach volleyball, etc. So simply, the governing documents gave us a starting point, and they're very important, but we are not bound by them, and so we've grown and evolved, and we have to stay relevant. And pickleball is a good example of remaining relevant. It's a very important part of our amenities. And all this information is available on our website. One side note, non-member golf play accounts for $2.2 million. What do you think would happen to our subsidy for golf if we didn't have that $2.2 million? Because people say, well, we should get rid of the non-members. Well, that's a lot of money. And golf is a very interesting beast because we can do 100 rounds out of that pro shop today or 200 rounds, and the cost to operate is basically the exact same. Basically exactly the same. So if you eliminated all of the non-member play, would it cut down any of your expenses? A little bit, 100, 200,000, but you're losing all that revenue. That's a lot. So that 1.9 turns into 3.5, 3.6, something to that nature. That's a lot to subsidize. So what does that mean? The non-members keep our green fees artificially low. That's good. All right, the 4 elements of managing a successful POA restaurant. We're talking POA. We're not talking Red Lobster that just filed for bankruptcy. We're talking about POA restaurants. Great food, okay. Great quality service, reasonable prices, profitable operation. But you only get to select 3 of those. You can't select all 4. You only get to select 3. What 3 are you going to select? Okay, because it's not realistic to say all 4. You only get 3. I'm being pretty generous giving you 3. 3 out of 4 ain't bad. All right. You did not select good quality food. Well, we're just going to lower the quality of the food. Cheaper hamburger meat, cheaper buns, smaller portions. That's how a lot of restaurants do it. You didn't select good quality service. Where's my server? Where's the manager to help us when we're having problems? Self-serve. Good point. Reasonable prices. Raise prices. We all know our prices are artificially low. They're low. Burgers are $13. They should be 17. Beer should be $2 more than we charge. Let's compare our pricing not only to JJ's and Casanos, go down to Bentonville, everywhere else. We are low. We are very reasonable. Profitable, or you subsidize. The board has made the choice through the approval of budgets over the years to reasonably subsidize. They want to subsidize, not a lot. Limit it as much as possible. Do your absolute best to get to break even. Original goal was to break even after 3 or 4 years, but over time we came to realize that the way to do that would be raise prices, and not only raise prices, but do we really want the 10% off that everybody loves? So the board has approved budgets that are reasonable subsidies. And I think it makes sense and it benefits our membership, which is what our goal is. So let's look at the growth in our restaurants. Now the first year, 2020, it's impacted by COVID. How much? Hard to say. We were closed for a while. But 21 really not impacted that much by COVID. So you see a nice growth, 192. You add in another restaurant, we're taking care of a lot of property owners. And you have, who was commenting about finding a parking spot today, and they go in and look at the restaurant and it's packed in there. You go to Lake Point, it's going to be just as busy. You go up to Highlands, just as busy. All right, so we talked about the 1,065,000 uses. Our mission is to enhance the lives of our members, and we do this through a wide array of amenities. We accomplish this goal. Through the subsidy of our amenities, we accomplish this goal. Through offering amenities such as parks, dog park, pickleball, and other amenities that have no financial return on investment, we accomplish this goal. Through offering good quality amenities at a reasonable price, we accomplish this goal. If we were a for-profit business, there is no way we would have pickleball courts. We don't charge for the uses. Okay? Now, the ongoing maintenance of them is pretty reasonable, but the capital expense was a kick in the teeth. So it's always a balancing act. And so when you come to the table with only a for-profit mindset, I would argue that that is not the right mindset that you want to have. You have to look at things as being subsidized, and that was contemplated in the original declaration. Maybe they didn't use that word, but they got pretty darn close to using it, and they circled it. Questions? All right. Now we're going to get, because you can't get enough of me talking, we're going to do a very quick update on the gun range. So give me a second to load that up. All right, so let's talk about the gun range. So, significant accomplishments since the last update. Now, the last update I gave was actually at the rec committee. It wasn't here. So you can go back a couple of months and view that. It's on our website. The most significant thing that occurred was we finally got ownership of the additional land that we needed. And that only happened, what was that, 2 weeks ago? The 12th is about 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, we had to wait in line behind a slightly larger company called Blue Crane that was spending tens of millions of dollars, and Cooper, for whatever reason, I have no idea, took priority over them compared to our $10,000 purchase. So we were literally waiting, and it would make absolutely no sense for us to make any improvements to land that we do not own, because you never know. We put improvements and all of a sudden something changes and they decide not to. I don't want to have that meeting with the board saying, hey, sorry, we spent $50,000 on land we don't own, and all that improvement is now gone. No. Our maintenance construction team have met and they have methodically planned the renovation. They're ordering supplies, so we're getting close. We're going to be actually mobilizing a lot of the equipment, or the equipment that we're going to be using on Monday. Of course, next week is 4th of July, so they're not going to get a lot done. But they have started some of the demolition process. Before you start building, you got to tear down. Real quick, this is in the light gray is the original land that we originally owned, and then this black line is the additional land that we purchased, and I'll show another map later as to why we needed the additional land. And then here's some pictures. The guy on the right is removing the razor wire and starting to take down the fencing. You can see the razor wire brackets right there. And then also, there's no shoot houses anymore. You can see the columns have been cut off, so they're starting the work to tear down before they can build up. At one point, we were contemplating the idea of adding to the existing shoot houses, and then we just determined, no, they're old, they're dated. Why add something new to something that's really old? And so we decided to take them all the way down. So not a huge amount of progress. I do not encourage people to drive by and see what's going on, because there's just not a lot at this point. This is an artist rendition, conceptual rendition of what the plans will look like. You see on the right side is the rifle, and on the left side is the pistol. And so this is a zoom in. When I zoom in, the quality of the image really goes downhill quickly. But you'll see we're going to have additional shoot houses, so additional shooting positions. To the best of our knowledge, it looks like we're going to go from about 6 shooting positions to 12 shooting positions, and we will have a raised shooting position. So people like to shoot from the prone, but we don't want them on the ground, because then it could potentially go over a baffle, so they'll actually be located higher. So instead of shooting on the ground, you'll be shooting on a raised deck. And that way, when you shoot from that prone position, your rifle will be at about the same height as someone sitting or standing. Okay? and you'll see the multiple baffles and then the berms that we have around it, and that should give us a no blue sky approach where when you're shooting, you can't see any blue sky, and if you have an errant shot, it will hit either the baffle or the berm and get knocked down. And so you'll see that we're adding 4 baffles, and then the berms. When we originally met with the civil engineer who was designing it, he said that we could add 3 baffles and berms, or we could add 4 baffles and not have the berms. And I said, I want both. I want 4 baffles and I want all the berms. I want to make sure no bullet escapes from this range. And you see that we have a very low berm here that's not sufficient that we're going to add to. We have a low berm in the middle that we need to add to, and we currently have no berm at all on the right side, and that will be created. Here is the pistol side. The resolution's horrible. I apologize. But you'll see that here's the shooting line, the baffle, and then we'll enlarge the berm. The berm is actually right now in some areas is as high, but it's more of a peak. So it goes up and straight down, where the new one will go up, be level, and then come down. Because when you just have a peak and it starts getting hit with bullets, then that soil moves very quickly, and all of a sudden it gets lower and lower, and then all of a sudden you have a problem like what we have. And then you're going to have a bastion over here, or a bastion barrier that'll knock down anything in case someone points their weapon laterally or something like that. You have to protect against all inexperienced use of, or experienced but not effective use of firearms. You can see with this black line here is the original land that we owned, and so by adding and enlarging the berms, we needed the additional space. By enlarging the berms here, we needed the additional land, and by adding it over here, we needed the additional land. Plus, we have to have the ability to get in and around them, so that's why we needed the additional land, and that's what took so long. Also, don't forget, we had to have a survey done this area, and that took a long time to get, and then we had to do the civil engineering work, and everything took forever. We're also going to make the facility handicap accessible. Over the last 8 to 10 years, we've really made a lot of great progress at all of our buildings of getting them handicap compliant. And so once we exit this renovation, we will be handicap compliant. It's currently not handicap compliant. This is the usage. I've shared a lot of this information previously. But you'll see the usage at the gun range is pretty impressive, and that's even with the range being closed for part of the year. And you'll see that a lot of our members, 571, have made the trek down to Ozark Sportsman. Not very convenient. It's a heck of a drive. Allison and I drove down there. It's half hour at least, so it's not convenient like the other one, but it is a viable alternative, and you can shoot your rifle there. You can shoot your pistol there. The board approved the expenditure of $300,000 on the range project and the $10,000 to purchase the land, which we have purchased the land. They did that back at the March board meeting. Estimated completion, so I met with the guys earlier this week, and I tried to nail them down on a completion date, and they all started squirming in their chairs. They're saying, look, we can't predict what's going to happen in the future, and supplies and so forth, whether they're going to arrive on time and so forth. So we fully understand that we need to work with pace to get this done. We ask for your continued patience. We do know that when we're done, it's going to be something we can all be proud of and all feel that it's going to be safe, so we're not going to have any additional life-threatening situations. So do apologize it takes so long, but it's a large project, and we can't cut corners. You start cutting corners, and that's when things go bad. Any questions? All right, I'm done talking, thank God.
Thank you, Tom. It's good stuff. Thanks for your presentation on the amenities and that one, of course, an update. I know a lot of the membership's looking for updates, so now that we got the land bought, we can start working. Good deal. Thank you. Anybody have anything else on those two topics? No. I guess what we got the last. Yeah, the last is the Lakes JAC has an open spot, and they would like us to nominate. You said it one way. I'm going to say it another way. So, Jeff, I apologize if I got it wrong, but Jeff Reddy. You said Rattay, I think. So I don't know which one it is, but Jeff.
One of us is wrong.
One of us is wrong.
Or potentially both of us are
Could be
wrong.
both of us. Both of us. So need a nomination, a second, and we'll take it to a vote.
I will nominate Jeff.
Second.
David, Jeff. You didn't even say it last time.
Jeff has probably put up with this his whole life. He's probably had to listen to his name being butchered.
Yeah,
so
probably so.
I'll just say Jeff.
Okay, that's
I got
perfect.
that one right.
Perfect. Jeff R. Is there any discussions on Jeff?
I'd just like to add that I had a couple of offline conversations with Jeff as he was doing some research into volunteering for the POA and what the advisory committees were like. And I can tell you from my conversations with him and looking at his background, I think he has a lot of value to offer to the advisory committee.
Cool. Thank you, Deborah. If there's nothing else, we'll go to a vote. All in favor? 9-0. That brings us to the fun part, all the announcements. Next Recreation JAC meeting is July 8th at 4 p.m. All of these are in the boardroom unless otherwise noted and live streamed. Special meeting of the board Tuesday, June 9th at 3. That is a closed meeting. Lakes JAC is Wednesday, July 10th at 2. Golf JAC is Wednesday, July 10th at 4. Rules and regs, you are meeting, right, JB? Rules and regs, July 11th at 1:30 here in the boardroom. The GM meeting, which is a closed meeting, is July 11th at 2:30. The next work session is July 18th at 9 a.m. And the next regular session is July 25th at 6 in the boardroom and also live streamed. Does anybody have anything else? Thanks for the hard work on putting those together, Tom. I know that took a little while. All right. With that, we are adjourned.